Hey fam, it's your girl, Amber Wynn, and we are on our third session with Kimberly Worthy of I Am a Worthy Cause. She has decided to start a nonprofit, and we are following her through her journey. Well, we're following us because I'm coaching her through the process. And so if you are struggling with whether or not to start a nonprofit, how to start a nonprofit, or what that all entails, this series is for you. Last session, we talked about her cause, what she was thinking about doing, narrowing down who her target audience was, her geographical service area. This episode, we're going to dive into the program descriptions, the measurable goals and objectives, because it makes a difference with the funder. You can't just be out there nilly-willy doing just anything. It's got to be specific. So join us on this next episode when we dive into project descriptions. When people say, oh, I have program descriptions, but do you really?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I have measurable goals, but are they really? Talk to us a little bit about the measurable goal part, Kimberly.
That part there. So, and I feel like when you're doing the measurable goals, and I'm kind of like trying to think how the funder be thinking, like you kind of get excited. You know what I mean? Like it kind of brings in a certain excitement because you can kind of see how you're going to see if the program is working, how the money is being spent. Do you need to do something different? You know what I mean? And at first, I guess once you get the hang of it, you can just kind of repeat it over and over again because you just plug in the situation and just kind of repeat it. Mm-hmm.
Your email ended in @gmail.com.
So no.
Why? Why? Why?
Well, because it's not representing an organization.
That's right. It's representing something personal or even a company, right?
Or a company, right. And it's not a company. This is a public.
And so people think, well, Amber, that's not a big deal. It's not a big deal until it is.
Until you down to the last, 12 people and your .com is between you and that grant.
Exactly. So we've got to figure out ways to eliminate. We're going to eliminate Kimberly because she has a .com and not a .org. People are like, really? Are they that picky? How else do you eliminate the pile?
Mm-hmm.
You know? And I'm going to tell you, maybe they won't, but maybe they will. Do you want to chance it? Thank you.
Nope.
Especially not when you can get your domain for free. Google Workspace offers nonprofits .org extensions, email extensions for free. If you are a 501c3 tax exempt organization, that is their give back to our community. So there's no excuse really. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah. Not at all.
Does your mission inspire?
Well, I guess it's kind of boring. I mean, now that I'm looking at it, I was trying to make it short, concise, and to the point.
That's right. And that is the goal.
Right.
It's a challenge, but I threw something out. I said to transform communities by cultivating resilience, self-efficacy, and essential life skills in transitional age youth. So transitional age youth is very specific in funding communities. They call those TAY, right? So absolutely, we definitely want to keep the mission short, concise, but we also want to inspire. We want it to be memorable, right?
Right. So, yes, and unique.
Right, and unique. So if you had submitted this to a funder, your application wouldn't have been funded. When we talk about your origin story, right?
Uh-huh.
Be a little bit about that.
So I don't know. I try to keep things as simple as possible, right? So that was my origin. I'm in social work. I was in the field of social work in college. I think we were in labs or something, and the conversation came up about what happens, after they exit the program. And I was just appalled. I was just thrown aback. And I'm just like, why isn't nobody talking about this? Like, why isn't nobody focusing on this? And that was like, many years ago. And
Right.
here we are, still in the same position to where it's nobody's talking about it. Nobody's doing nothing about it. Nobody's focusing on it. And then you see all of these young people out here on drugs. They got baby daddies. They on the corner. You know what I mean? It's just
Right,
like,
right, right, right.
this could have been prevented if there was systems in place to
Okay.
help them when they leave.
So maybe we could tease that out a little bit. We could say, during my educational career, we focused on this and that, and I
Mhm.
took a look at my community and it is, and then just, expand it.
Right. Okay.
That's fine because
So
that
like
is.
how long is too long though? Like you don't want to talk too much, do you?
Well, here's the thing. Usually for the organization history or the agency history or background, it's going to be about 500 words. So that's about a
Oh,
page.
okay.
Um, but some funders, they only want you to give them 150 words. So you've got
Hmm.
to be able to just shorten it, whatever. But I always typically have my people do like 500 words, or because it's a
Okay.
story, right?
Right. Right.
When a funder looks at you as a potential partner and looks at Susie as a potential partner, they're looking to see who is most likely to accomplish this goal. So if
Mm.
you said, well, I'm a barista at Starbucks and I just did rock, paper, scissors to see which population, like that's not going to inspire them. But if you
Right.
said, when I was, going through when I was matriculating through college and trying to figure out what area I was going to focus on, like when we talked about this topic and I read the statistics and and then I go to my community and nothing's changed years later, it touched me then, but it moved me now. Like that
Mm.
would make a funder say, "Oh, okay." And then the fact of your background, it says to them, well, she knows a little bit about human behavior. She knows a little bit. She's
Right.
trained in it. So there's a highly likelihood that you will accomplish your goal because you have the training and the background. So the agency history isn't just about who founded the organization, when they founded, but you're also trying to give them a sense of you and your
Mhm.
purpose and why you're going to accomplish the goal. It's doing a lot in there. It's like a gumbo, right? But here's what's important. If you didn't know that, you would just write anything.
Exactly, which I did.
And so that's why it's important for me to have people understand that words have meaning, especially when you write grants, right?
Yeah.
Because a
Yes.
funder is looking for something. We had such a strong relationship that they referred them to us. And now we
Mhm.
have this network, and now that gap, that hole that the youth would fall through, we're closing it.
Yeah. Yes. Yes.
You see how that's inspiring?
Yes. Very.
So you want to talk about a challenge, and then you want to talk about how you overcame that challenge, because then it shows to the funder that you're in it for the long haul, you have experience, and that you're the organization that they should look to for funding this grant.
Right, because you're capable of growth, right? You can take a problem,
Absolutely.
get over it and move forward.
Absolutely. No, absolutely. So just wanted to give a little bit of background, because you may have been like, what is she talking about? And why is she asking me these questions?
Oh, I was all in it. I was like, yeah, but then when like I said, when you look deeper into it, you're like, yeah, yeah, and I can kind of see where my first application, bloop, you can just scan through it, bloop, it's out, and then this, okay, you're gonna have to go through a little bit more
Right.
pickiness to
Right.
throw this one out. You know what I mean? I can definitely see the difference.
The other thing I wanted to share with you, when they ask for questions like your target population, the number of clients served, you want to be as concise as possible. And
Mhm.
people have a tendency to be wordy because they think if they're wordy, it makes them feel more qualified or more educated or whatever. Let me just share with you really quickly. Having been on the other side as a reviewer, as a grant reviewer, less is best because we are reviewing 10, 15, 20 applications and we got to read all of that stuff, right?
Right.
So if you, and listen, your funder has a rubric. They have a piece of paper and they're checking off. Do they serve the geographical area that we serve? Do they serve the population that, so we don't need to have, you don't need to repeat the question. The target population that we serve, you don't need to do that. You just put
Right.
young adults, 18 to 25, who are in or are about to age out foster care. That's it.
Here. Right.
Right.
Now, the number of clients served, right? Is that I mean, like if you're just starting out, like how would you come up with that number?
That's a good question. And before I answer that question, I had a client who told me, Amber, we didn't get the grant because we said will be versus is. Even if because remember, the funder wants to partner with someone with experience who can help them accomplish. You're right now, if you say we will be, that's conceptual.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go with someone who's done it.
Who is.
Right, who is. So
Right.
so this is what I'm going to tell you about the number of clients served. It's really going to depend on your space and your the number of staff or volunteers you have.
Okay.
So if you have a 900 square foot place, you can't get 50 kids in there,
Exactly. Right. Right.
So, but just a rule of thumb, 25 a month is good.
Okay.
That's rule of thumb. Now, you may have your community service project on Saturdays, and then you have your game of life on Tuesday. So you may have different groups, and if you have different groups, you may have 10 this day, 15 this day.
Yeah. Yeah. I
But
get you.
ultimately, they need a number because you're going to have them signing in every day, and that's how you document how many you actually served, right?
Right.
If you say, I need $80,000, how many are you going to serve for that 80,000?
Right. We can't be like, I got six clients and I need $80,000 for them. What are you going to do with $80,000 with 6 people?
Right. And it's not fair, but how a funder gets to the per client cost is they divide your budget by the number of clients. So if you're asking for $500,000 and you have 6 clients, that's a high per client cost, right?
Right.
I'm giving you $500,000 and all you're serving is 6. Well, maybe that is justified because the wraparound services is going to be a clinical psychologist, which is, $500 an hour. They're going to need, like it depends on the type of, population that you serve. But generally speaking, when I'm looking at a budget, I quickly do the math and I say, okay, they're asking for, $80,000 and they're serving 25. I just quickly do the math. I just want you to know that that's how they come to, is this
Right.
my, a return on my investment? Because I have
Makes sense.
people say, oh, well, I want a salary of 200,000. So 200,000 is pretty huge. And then you have your program cost. Let's just say those are 50, 60,000. So now you have a budget of 260,000, but you're only serving, 17 youth a month. Like it doesn't work out a funder. Well, people don't think about that though.
Right. The math has to math.
Yeah, it has to math. And so when we talk about the services provided, when you first went in there, you're like, well, I'm gonna help them, obtain a bank account and teach them how to organize their bills. But when you saw my bullets, what did you say?
I was like, oh, you know what I mean? And I was excited. Like when I saw you, I was like, oh, wow. And you could instantly see the programs, right? And I already knew where I went wrong at. So when I went back in there, and I started, in depth thinking about, oh, what are we going to do and how we're going to do it. And then I kept reiterating back to how you said it. That's why I was like, sometimes you have to fluff up your words, just make the words a little bit better. And I was like, okay, I think this is it. It's better and it's more words, so it's better than previous. But I got excited when you go back and read it and you're like, okay, all right. I mean, everything is kind of like
gelling together. You can see what type of program you're going to have. This is what's important for me as an executive director. Let me tell you, it used to piss me off when people would say, Amber, take care of yourself. Well, if I knew how to take care of myself, wouldn't I do it? Obviously, I don't. So when people when people say, "Oh, write a program description," well, if I knew how to write a program description, I would. So that's why with my course, I provide examples, sample language, because you don't know what you don't know. You don't know what the funder's looking for. You're giving it the very best that you have. In reality, there was nothing wrong with what you wrote, but when you are competing against other nonprofits, you want your descriptions to be very descriptive. And so that you had my explanation, my examples as a model, you know what to look for.
Exactly. It made it much easier.
Right?
The second time around,
because you're like, oh, this is what they're looking for, and then you just model it.
Yes.
So I think for me, that's one of the things that separates me from a lot of my nonprofit competitors, the consultants. They'll say, well, you want to have, well, what is that? I give you examples so that you can model it. You don't have to. And this is why a lot of nonprofits struggle for 2 and 3 years, right? They'll submit a grant, it won't get funded. They won't know why. And typically a funder's not going to give you feedback. They'll just fumble and just fumble around for 2 years until they're like, oh, somebody let them see their grant, or they saw, and they're like, oh, that's 2 years wasted. I want you to start off powerful. I want you to start off strong. And so if I give you the type of language you're supposed to write, all you got to do is just change it, so where it's your comfortability, but you understand what elements need to go up in there. You want me to edit it because when I'm done with it, it'll be right, versus submitting something. Your ego will be intact, but you won't get no money. In terms of your board of directors, if you had to, prior to this exercise, if you had to speak to potential people to sit on your board, could you describe your programs in a way that you think you would have inspired somebody to sit on your board?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. This exercise helped me be able to, it just kind of like forced you to think more about, what I'm saying, what you're trying to do and what you're trying to get out of it. So if you know those two things, you can kind of fill in the blank, and then you'll have a working, clear program. So if you can see it, then everybody else can see it. So without this exercise, there's no way, to have everything come together the way.
And so when I say, this course helps founders get funding 3 times faster, this is how.
Yes.
Instead of you scrambling for 2 to 3 years, refining. Now, listen, this may not be the end of your program description, but instead of you starting down here, you'll start up here. As you go through your programs and you're like, yeah, we really don't want to focus on social norms. We really we don't know that now, but it's a very strong start.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
As opposed to, well, we're going to have them, start with the bank account. No, we've got 14 modules that we are going to use. And these are the topics so you start off strong. And when you start off strong, it eliminates all of that. Well, what am I going to be? What am I going to do? Where am I going
to? That builds confidence for sure.
When people come to me and they've been in existence for 2 or more years, and I'm like, well, where's your budget? And they don't have a budget. I'm blown away. But that also is a telltale sign that they don't really have strong programs, right? Because
Mhm.
all of those things tie together.
Cause I'm over here stressing out about this budget the whole time. And then when you're talking about, well, now that you have your programs, I'm like, oh, yeah, because now you have something to buy. At first, I'm just like, guesstimating. You know what I mean? Oh, well,
You're
this
still
we're gonna have this
and you're
much for
still
this
gonna
program.
guesstimate this first year because you don't know. We're gonna
Mhm.
guesstimate. For example, we're going to put in budget line items at optimal level. Most people start, well, I'm going to do everything. We're going to build out a budget as if you had a full staff. So you have
Okay.
3 programs. So maybe you'll have 1 or 2 or 3 program coordinators. These people are going to
Mhm.
go out to the schools and do the outreach and right? We're going to
Right.
put that in the budget. You may not be able to fund it right now, but we're going to put that in the budget. But when
Okay.
you deliver the program, you may be like, oh my gosh, we got all of these youth. I need more help. I need 2 program coordinators. I need an administrative assistant. I need you know what I mean? So that
Mhm.
first year, that's why I said you want to partner with somebody so that you can do a test run just to see if it works.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
and
Right.
just to see what things you need. You're like, "Oh my goodness, I need 3 easels. Oh my goodness, I need 2 laptops." Like, you don't know, but you're gonna
Mhm.
guesstimate just based off of your curriculum, what you're
Right.
delivering, and things of that nature.
And what we're trying to do. It makes more sense than just trying to guesstimate off of air,
Yes,
thoughts. Now I
yes,
have something tangible to look at and make something.
absolutely, absolutely. So, that is why we build out the programs first, then we back into it with the budget,